It's time for another edition of the online dinner party. And of course, we've got all kinds of exciting things going on. And of course, a lot of things are happening here in Durham, North Carolina. We had the Women at Work over at the Hayti Heritage Center, and they had some great performances, including with the United String Colors, the United Strings of Color, that is definitely trying to show that we are involved in a number of things, including classical music and all along those lines. And of course, they've got a African American legacy in gardening and horticulture that'll be taking place on this particular weekend. There'll be a film on Friday, and then, of course, there'll be an actual several panel discussions all around gardening and the legacy of gardening on Saturday as well. So that's just some of the things that are going on. It's a kind of cool day here in Durham, North Carolina, and all along those lines. So I actually went out and gave a history talk at that same Cultural Arts Center, the Hayti Heritage Center, for the folks with self-help as well as Southern Pines Land Trust. So that was just an event that I went to earlier, and then I'm back here to do the podcast and all along those lines. And I've got a couple of guests, including one that is a longtime friend and a newer friend. So definitely going to bring on the newer friend first, but we're going to find out about what everybody's got going on in this creative space and all along those lines. So actually, I had the pleasure not that long ago of going to the NATPE conference. That's NATPE, but it's all about folks in that podcasting lane and all in that space. And that's where I met this particular gentleman that I'm going to bring in and all in that space, that being Brandon Lee Ward. So Brandon Lee Ward has been involved in that space of television and films and all along those lines. So just tell a little bit to our audience about yourself and how you got involved and even what you thought of that particular conference that was over there in Miami. I understand they're going to do the international one in Hungary, and I don't have any Hungary kind of funds and everything along those lines, so I will not be attending that one and everything like that. But just tell us a little bit about yourself and your own development in the television and film world.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Mr. Mark Lee. Me, originally from Gary, Indiana, by the way of Nashville, Tennessee, went to Tennessee State, took up theater. So I always been a fan of the arts. Then got a scholarship to go to the New York Film Academy based in Los Angeles. It's a school called New York Film Academy based in Los Angeles. Got my master's degree there. Learned so much about the film industry. I went out there for an acting scholarship because I thought I was one track minded. Like I just want to be an actor. I want to act. But the school developed me and exposed me to like the whole industry. There's so much areas in the industry that you can be talented in. There's areas in the industry where you can make money in. There's areas in the industry you can just be strictly creative. So after graduation, I put together my own short film. It got accepted into the ABFF short film competition, and then that's why I met my current Burke Entertainment, my current producing partners, the current production company that I work for, and so we go to we make movies, we go to events. I'm a film producer slash actor, but I've been on the producing side this last couple of years, just being producing, learning all the behind the scenes work.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense and everything like that. What has been some of the things that have surprised you about the acting field? You know, like you said, a lot of people are thinking they're just going to go out to Los Angeles and make that automatic success, but it's a grind because I've got some friends that have been out there. One of my good friends, Ronnie Warner, actually did that film this Christmas and has been out there for probably a decade or more and all along those lines. But I just wondering, what are some of the things that surprised you about the industry when you got out there?
Well, I came straight out here on the act, like you said. A lot of people do come out here on the acting one track mind, and this is like the Olympics of actors, the Olympics of good looking people, the Olympics of talented people, the Olympics of creative people. So it's a lot of competition out here. But I'm confident in myself that I can do all things through Christ. Praise the Lord. But it is very competitive, and it's not what you know, it's who you know, and more importantly, who knows you.
Right.
So it's more relationship based than anything. Relationship based more than talent. Relationship based more than how much money you got. They don't care. It's like it's a small industry. Everybody works with people who they know. Everybody works with people who they like. So networking and building good, genuine relationships.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tell us a little couple of about some of the current projects you've got and some of the projects that you're working on currently, because you mentioned that you've got some projects that you've even developed, and I think y'all were shopping some even out at the NATPE conference that was going
Yep.
on there in Miami and everything.
Yep. So two projects we just wrapped. One is available on Apple TV, and I think Roku and all them other TV, all streaming platforms. That's Christmas in the Friendly Skies. That was out basically for Christmas. I acted in that. I also produced that, helped produce it as well. Another project we just wrapped was a romantic comedy with Grand Hustle, Ti. That's a romantic comedy. I was on the back end on producer part is that as well. I had a small role in it, but the movie they had to cut me out, unfortunately. So I was like, so you won't see me in that one. And what I was currently pitching at NAPT was a sketch show podcast. So that's what I'm currently working on. That's why I'm in a early development stages of that sketch show podcast. Think of if Dave Chappelle had a podcast, if the Breakfast Club meets the Black Lady Sketch Show, or the Breakfast Club meets Key and Peele. That's what I'm currently working on.
Yeah, you mentioned that one of them was dealing with Christmas and dealing with the friendly skies. So I'm imagining that y'all had to get access to planes and all along those lines. So how was that, just in that whole process of trying to get access to major props like a plane?
Oh, so basically you have to find big location. Go to your location manager or find a location manager if you're in whatever development stage you're in, and you're find a development manager. Sorry, find a locations manager and be like, hey, we need to find a studio who has a plane. So we filmed it in Atlanta. So we filmed it in Fulton, Fulton industrial area in Atlanta. People in Atlanta, they know what Fulton Industrial is. So that studio out there had a plane. So yeah, it was just half of a plane, and we had to cheat the shots to make it look like it was a full plane. So basically, first class was the same as economy, but we just dressed it up a little bit. So it was expensive, most definitely. But however, it was good because 90% of the film was shot on the plane.
Yeah.
So that's most definitely a smooth shoot for all the crew. You set up you at this one location for like 10 days, and then in the other like 3 days you're at like two other locations. So it was a good thing.
Yeah, it sounds like it, and all along those lines. I'm bringing my other guests who I've known for a number of years. We're going to chop it up just in general and everything. But TV Rory is a longtime musician, and he's been in the music game for a long time, playing everything from the blues to African drumming, and definitely have known him for many years, ever since he was a child, since his mother used to be the head of the Arts Council when I was working over there, and I've known both him and his sister as well. So, Atiba, I know you just came back from Memphis and that big time conference and all along those lines. So if you want to share with the audience just what that experience was like, and just your whole experience in terms of being a longtime musician here in the area, because you've definitely been here in the Durham area, but you're known not just in Durham, but regionally and even, I would say, internationally as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate being on here. Nice to meet you, Brother Brandon.
Yes, sir.
Can't wait to hear more about your story. Sounds like we could collab on some stuff for sure.
Mhm.
So appreciate Mark putting that together as you do.
Yeah.
Man, I play music. I started in West African music, was my first musical experiences, thanks to my parents. And from there it kind of just grew. And training in that style of learning, I ended up going to classical musical school for percussion at University of North Carolina at Greensboro. Did the school thing. Interesting experience there, good and bad. But now I have a band that basically the idea behind the band is, what if the people that came here from West Africa or were brought here from West Africa were allowed to keep their drums? What would the music then sound like
Mm.
if we kept our drums? And so we approach all genres of Black music from all around the world from that perspective, merging the ideas and concepts of traditional West African drumming with modern day sounds and ideas, essentially. So basically, we don't have a drum set. Our drum set is West African percussion. And we did win our region of the blues with International Blues Society Road to Memphis Blues Challenge. We won our region and ended up going to the international finals in Memphis in January. It was a very interesting and eye-opening experience, for sure. I will say one of the biggest takeaways that I have from it is people are willing to acknowledge the African roots of things until it's right in your face and undeniable. And then sometimes people get actually a little afraid of it or nervous by it because they
Mm.
don't they feel that they don't understand it.
Mm.
but it is the same thing. So, but we had a good time out there. I'm just grateful we had safe travels and met some nice people.
Yeah, it sounds like y'all met some nice people, and this is for both of y'all and everything. Because we've talked about it on this show and other shows. How much do you think that whole notion of cultural appropriation is a real thing, and all along those lines? Because it does seem like a lot of times people are willing to take our music and run with our music, and even some of our films and our culture just in general. But I just wonder y'all's take on cultural appropriation and whether that is something that we, as a cultured people, should be concerned about.
I'll let you go, Ronnie. I have
Um,
thoughts.
well, I mean, I have lots of thoughts about that, right? Memphis highlighted a few of them. I'll start by saying it must be hard for someone of non-African descent at a certain level to just go on and give it up that everything comes from there.
Mm.
It must be very difficult. And I'm, Mark, you know me, so on this show, I'm gonna say what I want to say.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I want.
I'm sorry, people. Call me, email me. I love to debate you. But it must be hard. So I'll start with that, right? And when we think of things in high school, you read these folk tales that supposedly come from Greek mythology. And then when you do your research and understand that actually they got it from somewhere else. You know what I mean? The idea that country music, for example, people look at as white Southern music, but who started it? The fans, I will say, of blues and jazz currently are majority, non-black people, right? And sometimes the credit to who started, right? And so it also ties into, I believe, there has to be some admission of fault then when you get into some of those things. And sometimes people are just unwilling to kind of give it up and just keep it 100. Like, hey, you know what? These things came from these people. These things came out of these people's suffrage also, right? And then what caused the suffrage? We know the transatlantic slave trade, right? And us trying to hang on to our things, created a lot of stuff that entertained people. You know what I mean? That really is kind of interesting, right? Like gospel as a genre is a big thing now, right? Especially black gospel. It's a big, big thing now. But that music is full of pain and suffrage, and so I think that, like I say, it must be difficult to acknowledge. I think that it is important to acknowledge. I think that there are ways to participate and not appropriate, for sure. I also believe that black people, we have to be careful of appropriation as well.
Yeah,
right?
and I want to add to that, and I feel like we have a responsibility to, once we see it, call it out, because just like you said, it's going to be hard for them to accept it, even if when it's right in their face. So therefore, they have a sense of moral compass, but our sense of moral compass versus their sense of moral compass can be completely different, and that's why their moral compass is like, hey, there is rooted in greed. So of course they see you got talent, you got this, you got the creative, they're gonna find a way to make money off of it. So it's our responsibility to find a way to make money off of it before they do. And then if we see that they're making money off us and they're not giving back to the community or doing anything like that, it's our responsibility to call it out, stop it, protest, whatever we got to do to let the pendulum swing the other way and have ownership of our creativeness.
Yeah, it's just along that same line and everything. And this is for both of you, but I'll start with you, Brandon. Do you sometimes get concerned that we sometimes get caught in a trap? Because I mean, and I'll just be perfectly honest, I am not the biggest fan, even though some of his movies lately have been better, of Tyler Perry, because sometimes it got too much into the older versions, the self-infected version, and all along those lines, even though some of his later movies have been a little bit more detailed and a little bit more nuanced and definitely tell more of our stories. But I also know that sometimes we get caught into this trap, and it's not just us, it's just society in general, of once a movie becomes a success, everybody's making a copy of that movie. So everybody's been trying to make a new copy of the Black Panther. Everybody's been trying to make a new copy of what Tyler has done, whether it's Medea or whether it's some other ones that are like that. So I just wondering, do you think that we sometimes get caught in that trap?
Oh yeah, not only us, like everybody. Like Hollywood call this thing called a pre-sold franchise. So that's why there's 6 different Spider-Mans, 5 different Incredible Hulk films, 20 different vampire films, because once something is shown and proved that it's made money, Hollywood don't want to take a risk. And then to that one person take a risk, and then it's like, oh well, he made money, so let's make a vampire movie. Oh, he made money, let's make a black film. So it only happens when somebody takes that risk. So everybody's gonna copy, and I feel like that's the way of the world, unfortunately. And I think what was it, Quentin Tarantino, famous director, said Hollywood is creatively bankrupt. Or was it Quentin Tarantino, or was it what's the director for all the mafia movies? Shoot, I got his name. But anyway, yeah, so they've been saying Hollywood is creatively bankrupt because everybody just copycatting off each other, because nobody's willing to take the risk to do something new, something innovative, to make more money, to push the world forward. So there's going to be duplicates of Spider-Man, duplicates of Batman, duplicates of the same old franchise movies.
Yeah, and that's what I sometimes get frustrated by, just in that sense and all along those lines. We actually, at the Hayti Center, we had a film series. It's an offshoot of what had been a film festival and all along those lines. But definitely Lauren Banks, who was in Bass Reeves and is in City on the Hill with Leon, and Leon was there because Leon was showing a film that had to do with a musical legacy. It actually had to do with about Eddie Taylor. And a lot of people don't know that Eddie Taylor was kind of the founder of the electric guitar and all along those lines. But he did this movie called Rhythm and the Blues and all in that space. But even Leon said that we have to admit it, Hollywood is still controlled in a lot of degrees by the mafia, whether we want to admit it or not, and everything. So I'm sure that you've run across that, where there are some of these powers that be that are still running the show there in Hollywood. I was just wondering your take on that, Brandon.
So me going to film school, that's what exposed me to why Black stories aren't being told. Because when I went to film school, they put us through a pitch process. So your final grade, you have to come up with like a short film. You have to give your little pitch deck, why you should make it, give the script. And it was literally 3 white teachers that I had to present this to. And my story was about a Black guy who grew up in the church, who basically had an opportunity to get a record deal, but the record company wanted him to not sing church music, sing secular music. And, you know, that's a moral compass that we have as Black people, and God and Christian and conviction. The teachers I was presenting.
No, he just disappeared. Hopefully he'll come back and everything.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. So I got a call. So for example, that was my pitch to my movie, to my Black film. The 3 white teachers that I was pitching that to, they couldn't relate to me. I even asked them, do y'all go to church? They was, no. So it's just like, they don't relate. So how can you pitch your movie? You have to get this green lighted from them. You got to get permission from them. You got to get finances from them for our Black voices to be heard, for our Black creativeness to be displayed on TV. And it was such a battle, such a struggle to be like, this is what this movie's about. This is why it needs to be out there. And they just couldn't relate. And unfortunately, it's not their fault. They couldn't relate. They just is old white people at the top, and you got to go get permission from them or get funding from them. And that's the challenge.
Yeah. What's your take on that, Atiba? Because I think that's part of the conversation we were having that you ran into even when you went to Memphis and all along those lines, where some of these folks did not understand the roots of the blues music and the roots of what they were doing, even though they were the judges of that kind of music and everything along those lines. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, in reference to the you know, specifically the Memphis trip, I'm not saying that they weren't there, but in the venue we played, we didn't have any Black judges. As a matter of fact, in the venue that we played, the only other Black people that were there, one person worked there and the other person came with us. And this is on Beale Street in Memphis, right around the corner from the Orpheum Theater, you know, well-known area. just in general, there weren't a lot of, black people there. I will say that it's kind of a known thing that unfortunately a lot of black people in America, we don't support our own culture a little bit. We in the sense of pay for it until someone else tells us that it's valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Just like he was just talking about, right? Like you pitch your story to these people and then they are the ones that assign value to it. How is that the case? You know, um, we had a comment that was written by one of the judges that I'm paraphrasing. He basically said, I had to close my eyes so I wasn't judging what I was looking at. But when
Mm.
I closed my eyes and listened, this was the embodiment of the blues,
Hmm.
right? He said we were the embodiment to him, we were the embodiment of the blues, the emotion, the feel, the music. It was just coming from a different perspective, you know. And I appreciated that comment, right? But it's crazy that, a band with mostly black people, you got to close your eyes to hear us when you didn't have to do that for the other band that came on stage because we were a little bit different than what you expected. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that was kind of, my takeaway from really that week there. But yeah, I do think that it's unfortunate that the way capitalism is set up, we aren't the ones that are allowed to make the decisions on what we value. Is really what the case is, right? And we at one time we had that, right? We had a Motown, we had a Philly soul, we had record labels that were owned by black people of the community, right? And then hip hop came along and we had that in the hip hop sense. We had record labels that were somewhat right, still controlled by the majors, but they had their own entities in place. And of course, once that started happening, you see now a lot of that is broken up. You know what I mean? I feel like that, this like it's going to happen in the film world too. I believe. Once you see how people are upset about Tyler Perry owning the studio.
Hmm.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? People are a little bothered by that, but it means that now we can make we have avenues to tell our own stories. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that I think is what will keep them alive is that if our own people are the ones that are supportive of us telling these stories because they're our stories. That's a big piece of it in the sense that, like I was saying before, black suffrage and our what we do as our art has become entertainment for other people and our own folks because we use it for a different purpose, not necessarily to entertain, right? The gospel singer's not entertaining you at church. They're trying to get you somewhere. But you
Mm-hmm.
put that on a recording and now that becomes entertainment for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes I understand it makes it hard for us to want to pay for that. You know what I mean, kind of thing. When it's presented in that type of way. Eventually, I just believe we're gonna get past it. You know what I'm saying? It's just we capitalist nature is not in our DNA yet. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's just not embedded in us in the same type of way. So um I think that once we get a better understanding of that system and how we can work inside of that system with each other, then we'll be all right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. This is both you, Brandon, and Atiba. Um, how much do you feel that you get the support from the internal gatekeepers? Because we have our own gatekeepers as well, and all along those lines. So I just wondered, how much do you feel that you get support from the gatekeepers, even within our own organizations and our own society? Like I said, I know that your mom was involved in a lot of that organization, Atiba, when she was at the Arts Council, and they, even when she was at the center, the Visitors and Conventions Bureau, and all along those lines. But I just wondered, how much do you feel that we do a solid enough job of actually encouraging our own development within our own community, and even with some of our own gatekeepers?
Well, with me, I feel that it's a process that I have to go through. I have to basically manipulate people in a good way, use propaganda to be like, hey, brother, this gonna be this, and this is what's gonna happen. I got this person attached to it, and this person gonna be there, da 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 da. But when it comes to the other people community, they'll just be like, hey, Bob, I'm having an event this Thursday. You should come on out. All right, I'll be there. But no, when it comes to us, we gotta persuade people. We gotta hype it up. We gotta add propaganda just to get support. So unfortunately, that's what I've been experiencing lately. Like I have events, I have production, I have things that even if I just want to bring people out, bring people together, I have to just kind of pull teeth and manipulate people, use a little bit of propaganda. This how it was last time, so you know it's about to be lit this time. I have to use that instead of just saying, "Hey, support me. Hey, come on out. Hey, lend a helping hand."
What's your take on that, Atiba? Because, like I said, in terms of this area, I think your band is one of the more uh, proficient bands in terms of talent, and all along those lines you got some amazing talent that is in there, not just yourself but some of your other performers. But I sometimes wonder, do you feel that you even get enough support with your various bands, because you have several bands that you are part of and everything, but do you feel that you get enough support from the community at large? Like, I'm even wondering, like, to me you should be, and I don't know because I didn't see the whole list, and I'm not knocking the Reese Balmer and Rihanna. It's a great thing that they're doing. It's going to show our role in kind of what you mentioned earlier, country music and everything. So the Biscuit and Banjo Festival is coming up, I believe, in April and everything like that. And I definitely think that y'all should have been there, but I don't even know if y'all were included in that planning and all along those lines. But I just wondering your take as to whether we're seeing enough support in our own community.
I think it's twofold.
Mhm.
From my perspective. For
Right.
what I'm doing with my band, we get support in certain ways, right? The support comes in certain ways. I do think that sometimes um, people don't understand, in a sense, in the world that I'm in, that butts and seats is number one,
Mhm.
right? So I appreciate the well wishes. I appreciate you clicking, going on the Facebook, whatever, for whatever those metrics mean, right? But also showing up and physically being there in some cases is more important than anything else, right? And the thing is that I take it upon myself as an artist to make sure that once you get there, you're gonna like it. We worked on this. You're gonna like it. We worked hard. You're gonna like it. But I do need you to show up. When I and going to Memphis was a great example. We needed the community to help, donate to get us there. We got there. You know what I mean? We got there. Things were paid for. We didn't have to worry about no food. Our community supported us in that way. But when it comes to sometimes, it's like I like if you could go see Beyonce, you could come see me. My tickets ain't nowhere near the Beyonce price, right?
Mhm.
But you also can't expect the Beyonce show from my show because I don't have Beyonce production money.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that the art is any better or worse. You know what I'm saying? And I think that sometimes we get confused by that, you know. And so that support thing is like, yeah, people do wish me well. They are happy when things are going great, and they really, they enjoy it when they hear it. But consistently showing up, you know what I mean, it's just something that I don't know in my world, I'm gonna say, uh hasn't necessarily happened yet. And unfortunately, where I am in located geographically, it's a well-known kind of fact amongst the artists here, especially if you're doing music. Once they like you somewhere else, then they love you here.
Yeah, yeah, and
If you move
that's
away and then do something, you don't even have to be successful where you went to. You just got to go somewhere else and not be here for a while, and then come back and they think you the greatest ever.
that's what I'm saying. That's that little bit of propaganda that every person has to go through. I don't know why, but we just need to realize that why is that? And that is the area of improvement that we should work on. But you said something that I want to touch base on. You were saying like you don't have the production value of Beyonce, so you shouldn't expect Beyonce type of production. Me, that's how I judge movies now. Being in the industry, there's movies out here that they getting $200 million to make a movie, and it's okay. It's okay. And there's filmmakers out here that's begging for $1 million, and their films is like, oh, that was actually good. I remember this movie. So that's how I judge films now. Like all these Academy Awards and Oscars and stuff like that. First thing I ask is how much money did this movie made? How much money does this movie have to make versus how much money did this movie have to make? So that's how I judge movies now, and I feel like we should all understand that, and that's why it's so important to support. So the more money that we have, the better the production can be, so we can be even more thrilled and excited about supporting.
Now that makes a lot of sense and everything. I know that sometimes, and I just wanted y'all's take on this because I've got a couple of friends that are doing various productions. Tiba knows this, you don't know this, Brandon, and everything, but they've done everything from like the Road to the Apollo to they're going to do a show that's going to feature go-go music that'll be in May and all along those lines. So it's got Trouble Funk and it's got Belladonna and a band that is a Frankie Beverly salute band. But sometimes not every this is my take on performances and even the industry is that sometimes people are trying to do everything and they don't have to do everything. So just wanted your take on that because it does seem like some people are wanting to take on responsibilities and think that they can do it all. And you can't do the public relations, you can't do the tech. You got to have people that are in there to help you with that. So I just wanted these things that sometimes we as creatives are thinking that we can do it all without reaching out to the people that are actually experts in those fields and everything. Because that's a conversation I've had with a good friend of mine that used to be at one of our local theaters, the Carolina Theater, and he sometimes has to call people out because he has a tech background and be like, y'all need to at least consult with me on the tech just so we can get some of this tech information that I have in my head and all along those lines. So I just want to, I mean, you want to be well-rounded and know a lot, but you sometimes think that we don't do enough of a job of reaching out to the experts in the fields.
Exactly. I would say everybody needs to have an ecosystem of
Right.
whatever field they're in. So I'm in the film industry, so I have an ecosystem of I got directors, I got cameramen, I got people who know how to do lighting, I got people who know how to do the microphones. So I can do it all. However, it's gonna be stressful, and I won't be able to fully execute and be proud of the work that I did if I'm acting, if I'm also trying to worry about if the light is right. If I'm acting, if I'm also trying to worry about if the camera is right. I would say develop your own ecosystem. The only thing you should try to know is like, what is the price? So, make sure ain't nobody trying to get over on you. Like a cameraman is not gonna be, I'm not gonna $2,000 for a day. Nah. I know I can find somebody else that probably can work with me for like 500 and give me the same type of quality of work. But you still have to put trust in the experts. Like, hey, I trust you. I've seen your work. I trust you. You're gonna make it look good. And it's all about developing an ecosystem and a good team and a good community.
What's your take on that, Atiba? Because you definitely assembled a tremendous team, both in your own team as well as teams that you're part of. Because I know that you're part of Kaike's group, and he's got that whole Latin sound, but you're part of his team.
I think community is different. The Latin community, they always come to those salsa events, especially to hear live music, because culturally they're used to that. Mm-hmm. Culturally, they're used to going to experience live music. We aren't necessarily anymore here. We're used to going to see it at the Coliseum when you pay $120 for your ticket and go, you know what I'm saying? We don't have a band in our backyards anymore like we used to. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I also think that like it's really hard because creating art is a business. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. When you get into it for like as a business, I'll say that way. When you get into it as a business, all of that stuff runs on financing. Mm-hmm. So your team is only going to be as far as your dollar can go. You know what I'm saying? Realistically, your team, unless you get lucky and find some people that are willing to invest in your dream and come up with you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's very rare that someone has a team of people that are levels above them in whatever that thing is that they do. Mm-hmm. Unless you're able to just fake it till you make it, right? Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, it's definitely got to be on you because it's your dream. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're going to have to outwork everybody at first. And then hopefully people that have the skills, and this is what I think in our community we are missing, right? People that have the skills, that have a little bit of extra time. You know what? I see little bro trying to do something. Let me help you out this way. I see little sis trying to do something. Let me drop a nugget on you. You know what I'm saying? You know what? I'm a lawyer and I see you out here working and moving and I know you need contracts. Right. You know what I'm saying? How can we exchange and barter? You know what I mean? Even in certain situations, those type of things happen in other communities and it doesn't happen in ours. Also, I think that in the beginning it's on you, but then you have to make people believe, again, that propaganda thing. You got to make people believe that your thing is going to go somewhere and make people believe that you are willing to work at it and be invested in it. And then you'll see, folks come and go, but the people, some people will stick around for the long run once they see that you're going to keep making progress. Mm-hmm. I do think that I agree with having an ecosystem Absolutely 110%. And I think that comes with researching your field and trying to be around people that are in your field that are somewhat like-minded. And you can find them. I just definitely know that like the support in that sense goes really as far as you're able to figure out how people can invest or offer them something that they can invest in, right? Some people are do it off the strength because they want to see you do well. There are those people, right?
Mhm.
There are other people that say, I do this as a profession, but I'll cut you a discount because I know you ain't got it.
Mm.
And then there are others in situations, I'm speaking from experience. This has happened to me. You know, I called a lawyer one day and said, hey, I need some contracts. I just want to sit down and pay your hourly rate to ask you some questions.
Right.
He was like, no.
Mm.
You know, pretty much he was like, no. What do you want me to do? I can do this, do this, but I'm not going to explain nothing to you. You know?
Mhm.
So therefore, he doesn't care about my learning.
Right.
Whereas someone else, you know, thankfully, someone else who I know who is in entertainment law, I said, hey, I have questions. And she said, come to my house and sit down and talk to me.
And I just want to say real quick, those people like that do support you, that do cut you a deal, that do pour into you, those are the relationships that you must maintain. You
Yeah.
must maintain, because a lot of people get these relationships and they just think, oh well, I got the information from her. I really don't care no more. Like, no, just be genuine. Like, hey, follow up. Hey, happy birthday. Hey, Merry Christmas. Just checking in on you. How you doing? I really appreciate the time you invested in me. That's why those relationships are a key and a must to maintain, to build community.
Now, speaking of building community and that relationship and all along those lines, that's one of the things that frustrates me sometimes is, and I can be guilty of it just as well, do we sometimes not do a good enough job of follow through and all
Mhm.
along those lines. So definitely it can be an important thing to have follow through. Just because you got a business card at a conference like we met Brandon and everything, or just because you got a performance and you really enjoyed the performer and you actually even got their CD or their tape, have you followed through with them to see if they got if you've got an opportunity or a venue to get them in those venues? So I just wondering, do you think that we do a solid enough job of actually doing follow through, and what advice would you give to people about that follow through?
Well, let me go in real quick. I feel like in today's age of technology and social media, I feel like it's so easy to follow up or check in with somebody. However, it is also an area of improvement. Also support other people what they got going on. You know, you can be on. I seen you on LinkedIn. I'm just checking in with you. Laugh at their comment, something like, share, repost. Also, sidebar, what my friend does, and it's kind of ingenuine, but it's on a business tip. It makes good for following up. She literally has a spreadsheet of people she met, when she met them, and every like 2 months, it'll remind her to like follow up with this person, da 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 da. And then but it helps her work. It keeps her booking because she got relationships with casting directors, producers, movie agents. So like she literally has a spreadsheet, and every 2 months she'll just go down the spreadsheet. I haven't followed them in 2 months, and she'll send an automatic little text. Hey, just checking in on you. This what I've been up to. What's up with you? Very, robotish, very ingenuine, but it works. Especially if you're really trying to build community. And then as you build that community, of course, you're going to naturally, those people that you're naturally supposed to have those good relationships with, it's going to naturally click.
You know, how do we build a community here, Atiba? Because that's one of the things that I feel that we sometimes lack on in that sense. That we got a rich community here in Durham, but then we've also got people that are literally afraid to go to Raleigh, even though Raleigh's just one city over, and all along those lines. And we got this back and forth kind of like a travel thing where some people from Raleigh don't want to go to Durham, some people from Durham don't want to go to Raleigh, and everything. It's not just here. I've seen it even in other cities like Atlanta doesn't necessarily want to go to Marietta, and people in Miami don't necessarily want to go to Orlando, and all along those lines. So how do we continue to build that community that Brandon's talking about, and even expand the community?
That's a really good question. I wish I knew, because if I knew, all three of us would be in a different place right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't necessarily, I don't know. I know that the understanding of showing up is important. I think getting people to understand that. I think also for me, it's getting people to understand what support looks like in the world that I'm in,
Mhm.
right? Because people know me for a while, all my life pretty much, right? They know my family. So support sometimes for them is when they see me, hey, I see you on Facebook, you're doing great. And I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't get me more bookings.
Right.
Because when I have to turn in the paperwork that shows how many people came to that show and there was nobody there,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? That support doesn't really, and also the idea of understanding that, like, I get it. People travel is a thing. You know what I mean? But those same people that refuse to travel, they will travel for something. They go for something. I guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that they travel to some other place for because it's only there. You know what I mean? So there's something that, right? And I just think that it has to be placed at the same level of importance, in the same way as like supporting the black business, right?
Mhm.
I might need to drive across town to go to this place because it's black owned, and I'm driving past 3 other places that sell the exact same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to this store specifically because I want to support them, because I know supporting them supports me,
Right.
right? We support each other, and once we understand that cycle, because you see it in other communities. You know what I mean? You see it in other communities. You see it in the Latin community here, how they able to come here, 8 people live in a house, and then all of a sudden, all of them got big houses, and they all own a business that they helped each other build. You know what I mean? Um, or when the plumbing is messed up, they calling their people. You know what I'm saying? To come to
Mm-hmm.
the plumbing. I think we need to have that type of view, but also I think we, and I'm saying we as in black people in America, don't necessarily understand that entertainment in a certain way is a very important part of our lives.
Mhm.
Entertainment is what keeps us normal. You know what I'm saying? Entertainers and entertainment and things like that, right? Arts in general. The arts are our psychologists, psychiatrists. Going and laughing at that movie makes you feel better about your week being difficult. Going and hear that music makes you escape everything for whatever time that band is playing, and you feel good, right? Good example. I went to see Stevie Wonder last year.
Mhm.
I was floating when I left that show.
Mm-hmm. And it motivates you to do the right thing.
Exactly, right?
No pun intended to Spike Lee, but it motivates you. You hear some music, it motivates you to go work out. You watch a movie, it motivates you to get up off your butt and make your creative idea or
Yeah.
whatever. So it motivates you. It motivates us as well.
Yeah, and the arts have created movements. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
TV shows made people go to black colleges.
Right.
Everybody
Mm.
wanted to go to Hillman, myself
Mhm.
included, till you realize, oh, it don't exist. All right, well, let me look up somewhere else
Exactly.
because I want to go where they like that. Who missed the games?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, right? So those type of things I think are important, so that the being able to recognize the importance of supporting each other will take that travel thing out of the picture. I'm not saying that it's everybody, but it's a large enough community where it is a thing
Mhm.
but they will go for something. I guarantee you they done drove 2 hours, 3-4 hours for something. Got a hotel and went there, just to see, right? Good example. Last year I was in Cleveland at the same time as Rolling Stones. There was not a single hotel room available in the city for a week.
Yeah, because they were coming from all over to see the Rolling Stones. They were coming from
All
all
of
over the country, and probably even all over the world, because Rolling
people
Stones will
told me
draw
they
people.
bought tickets a year and a half before the show.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, and I feel like our community most definitely need to prioritize better. Our priorities are just not as they should be, but I feel once we get our priorities together and we see like the value in certain things,
mhm.
then we can really execute change.
How much of it is also generational? And I'm going to, because I know we've all had our mentors. Definitely want to hear who some of your mentors are, Brandon and everything. But I know that I think that's fair to say that one of Atiba's mentors was Baba Chuck Davis, and all along those lines and everything like that. But it did seem like there was a stronger generational pull with some of our older citizens that are no longer here, that they had a better community foundation, for lack of a better term, and everything like that. So I just wondered, where did that get lost, Atiba? And then I definitely want to hear from some of Brandon's. But where did that get lost? Because I mean, definitely you see I've even seen to some degree a drop in the attendance at the Kwanzas that take place on January and everything, because Baba Chuck has been past many years and all along those lines. But I'm just wondering, where did that generational connection come? Because as you know, my dad is an artist, and even he talks about that to some degree as well. But where did we lose that kind of like pull with our younger generation? And I'm 60, but you're even younger than that.
I think we lost it multiple places. One, when we stopped having intergenerational living, right? So when we started believing that it was okay to send grandma to the old folks home, right, and grandpa to the old folks home, rather than have them in the house with the grandkids. I think really, and I talk to my teachers about this kind of somewhat regularly. Another part of it was, from my understanding, I wasn't alive during those times, but Black people, when they were put in situations where we had to help each other, we did.
Right.
When it was segregated, when we had to go to our own venues and we had our own, right, and the teachers that taught were from the lived in that neighborhood that they taught in, and you know, that kind of stuff. When it was like that, we supported each other, right? We not necessarily, because we had to. Yeah. I would say because we had to, right? And so slowly you start to see, and this is, you know, the system that we are in as well, right? I personally do not believe that the people that brought us here want us to be successful, right? And so anytime we start to become successful, you notice there are certain things to try to break that down.
Yeah, because to be frank and to just, hey, that wasn't the purpose for us. You gotta like, hey, like, they had intentions for us. You come here, you clean this, you build this, and that was it. But now that that's not the protocol, we breaking protocol, naturally anybody will have a problem with it.
Right. And they actually had some control elements. As I said earlier, I was doing a history talk, and I do those regularly for the Hayti Center. And one of the things that I have to point out all the time, and you know where I'm going with this, Atiba, and everything, is that there is a large stained glass window that is of Mr. Duke, and he's the Duke of the Duke University and everything like that. But there was efforts even back then to get that church built, and they had to reach out into the white community. So he's like, yeah, I'll give y'all some money, kind of like probably Trump-like money at that particular time and everything. But I just have one request. There's like 2 stained glasses, but they're on a lower level of Jesus Christ. I just want to be up there at the biggest point that you can see. So literally, if you come into the building, that's pretty much the first thing that you see. And even if you're on stage, I can only imagine what the ministers were thinking at that time, because while they were doing their preaching, that's who they would be looking up at. Everything is Mr. Duke, who had that whole knowledge that he was going to have his image presented down on the whole congregation and everything like that. And he's not the only one. You can see that in some other buildings and other places as well. You get around the TV, and I'm sure you've seen some similar kind of things in other buildings. So it's not just St. Joseph's, but in other buildings around the country that have these white landlords, for lack of a better term, wanted to put their image out there and remind you who is the boss, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a real, like, that part is a real, you know, is a real thing. Like I think that can never be overlooked in the sense of what we are dealing with in today's time, right? Our history here is a major part of actually every part of where we are at the moment. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want it to seem like there have not been steps and successes, right? We have lots of successes, lots and lots of successes to speak about. You know, Black people in America are the inspiration for Africans getting their own liberation. Right. You know what I mean? We were a part of the anti-apartheid movement type of stuff, you know, so around the world, yes. But, you know, there is a system in place so that it makes it more difficult for us to achieve whatever the quote unquote American dream is supposed to be. You know what I mean? And then if you choose to do that through the arts, I would say it's even more difficult, because if you are an artist that wants to be true to yourself and your community and tell true stories, it's really tough. You know, it's really like, why did it take till now for us to have a Wakanda? And why does it have to be called Wakanda when we know there are places in Africa with these same types of things going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, even the same musically, right? Like I said, why is it that, you know, people see, and not to, I'll pick any artist you want to think of that's huge. You know what I mean? Any artist that's huge. You think that they're better because the system told you they're better.
Right.
Really, it has nothing to do with your own personal preference, right? Combined with technology, it makes everything really different, because the technological advances have helped and hurt, because the propaganda is supported by the same people that don't want, you know, we don't own Instagram, we don't own Facebook, we don't own, right? And these are major marketing tools for independent artists.
Right.
Major marketing tools for independent artists are these platforms that are owned by someone else who really at the end of the day does not want to see us but so far successful.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Both of you are in the education field, and I was just wondering, do you think part of the issue is that we also don't get enough of the education about that history that you were talking about? Because when I think of like even the Harlem Renaissance and a lot of our young people, I mean, I've got my two nephews that'll be 16 and 17 in August, and I need to find out how much they know about the Black Wall Street or even the Black Arts Movement or things like that. So I was just wondering, do you think that the education system is doing a good enough job of even educating folks about the arts history and all along those lines?
I don't believe so, because I have a lot of younger nieces, nephews, cousins, and I ask them, like, so what are y'all learning? You know, do y'all know about this? Do y'all know about that? Like, no, it's still kind of the same thing. Like, they learn about Christopher Columbus, we were slaves, Dr. King, Rosa Parks. I'm like, y'all don't know nothing about Marcus Garvey, nothing like nothing. So it's literally, I feel that we as parents, I'm not a parent yet, but as parents, it's our responsibility. So if we know that our kid is not learning about a certain area in school, it's our responsibility. Okay, well, let me teach you about taxes. Let me teach you about the AR, what an ARP is. It's our responsibility as parents to pick up the whatever they're lacking in school. And I think history is very important, because if you don't know your history, it's just going to repeat itself.
Yeah, and Atiba, there's a lot of the history is even history that isn't acknowledged. I mean, we hear people talking about like the food programs and all along those lines, but they don't even admit that the Black Panthers are the ones that actually started that in California and all along those lines. So that wouldn't be a food program on a federal level if the Black Panthers hadn't started it way back in like the 60s, and then the government kind of picked up on it. I think it was Nixon and some of the other ones at that time. But
yeah, and Head Start.
And Head Start, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is how I feel about it. I don't expect them to teach us that. I never have. Because they know how much power is in that education. You know what I'm saying? We were systematically broken down and told that we were slaves. Why would you ever tell a slave they were anything more than that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Why would you ever, like, you know? So I definitely, especially now with the new whatever's going on with this administration now, right? They're removing even more things.
Right.
You know, they're removing even more things. But I also think that the education system here, in a certain way, is built to keep this machine rolling. You know what I mean? And you need a lower class to keep this machine rolling. So that's why we're not taught, you know, how to handle these business things or banking or, you know what I mean, or any of that type of stuff. I think that I agree that we are responsible for educating ourselves. And that's one place where I definitely see the arts as impactful, because that is one of the ways that we learn. You know what I'm saying? It's in our DNA. In Africa, there are people that sing songs to us, and that's one thing that Europe didn't necessarily understand. Like, well, why are you singing about a monkey and a cow, or this and that, right? And it's like, no, this story is not about the monkey and the cow. This is teaching you a life lesson inside of this art form. You know,
Mhm.
Things like, there's a story about a lady who was a woman of the night, and she heard John Coltrane's music and decided to stop selling her body.
Mm.
So like these things that's why I feel that art is a part of us and it's very, very, very important. And this is where artists are important, right? OPP was a hit record.
Right.
Mhm.
I'm Black and I'm Proud, hit record. You know what I'm saying? There are many examples of such where things we learn in a certain type of way. I agree though that the schools and I don't necessarily expect them to, because that's not what they're set up for.
Yeah.
Not at all. Atif, but what about the, because it's dear to my heart and everything along those lines. Do you feel that we are sometimes allowing the other societies to kind of take over the music that is traditionally ours? You mentioned definitely jazz, and I'm a big lover of blues and everything like that. But it does, like, if you look at the top list on the blues, it is oftentimes the white blues artists like the Tommy Castros and the Rod Piazzas and others that are the ones getting the big support and everything. Not knocking Buddy Guy, because Buddy Guy's still out there and doing his thing, and he's an amazing performer, but he's definitely up there in age as well. But a lot of times it is the white performers that are getting the shine, for lack of a better term, and everything. But I just wanted your take on that, and how can we get our kids to understand that a lot of the hip hop that they love has blues and jazz roots within it and everything.
Excellent question. Excellent question. I think that what tends to happen with Black music is that we create something and we use it for what we need it for, and then once other people find out about it, because we don't create with the idea of a capitalist mindset, we
Mhm.
don't create to make money. We create to fill a need. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And it started from the field hollers and all, right? They're singing these field hollers not because they're trying to make a record, but then somebody comes to town and says, "Oh, sing that song again and let me record you,"
Right.
and then they sell it. You know,
Mhm.
and so what ends up happening is we create these things, they hear them, they start to be recreated by other people, and we let them go.
Mhm.
We just
Mhm.
leave it alone. Oh, y'all want to do that now? Cool. We got something else that we would have moved on to. Y'all
And
ain't
I
ready.
think that's the issue, because it's a gift and a curse. We are so talented and creative. We will literally like, oh, you can have that. We finna create something else real quick. Oh, you can have that. We finna create something else real quick. You can have that. You can create something else real quick. And now they done collected all this data, all this talent, all this, and now that's their talent. Like you said, they got a capitalist mindset. So it is up to us to identify when somebody's coming in and it's not Black owned no more. Oh, it's not Black owned no more. We're no longer going to support it, because we need to realize, and I think we're starting to realize. For example, look at Target. Once we
Mhm.
come together, we can shut down the whole corporation. We're not shopping there no more. It's not Black owned, or they're not supporting Black products. Boom. Now Target finna come knocking on the door like, hey, okay, now we can compromise. So it's up to us to identify, once we notice or we see this the soap I use to wash my hair no longer Black owned. Oh, okay, well I ain't using this no more. Literally, that's how we should operate, instead of just be like, oh, we're just gonna create something else, still support whoever own it.
Yeah.
So I'm very self-sufficient and most definitely about holding accountability to us, because I feel once we do better, our community can do better, and once the community do better, our culture can do better.
No
I
doubt about
agree.
that.
I think one thing I also would love to add to that is we leave things because we don't know our history.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're so comfortable leaving things behind, because we feel we don't have a history.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It's easy because like we can't go generations deep in our families, most of us, and say, this is great great grandpa so and so who used to do this thing. We don't
Yeah.
have that. So in a lot of ways, people feel like, well, I was just born with these skills. I got it. It's like, no, that came from your ancestors. But
Right.
because you don't recognize them and you were taught not to recognize them, you don't hold on to the things that they showed you were valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in that same vein and everything, because we talked about it even on this show a couple of times. How important do you think it is for us to attach ourselves to those ancestral roots? As you know, I definitely talk about it, not just at HATAP, but also having that connection to my grandmother who founded the first African American library in Raleigh and everything, the Richard B. Harrison Library. So I know that, my brother knows it, but some of our folks are not as connected to that generational ancestral connection. Because one of the things that frustrates me, I'm just gonna be honest about it, is that I've talked about it on the History Talk, is that we got to the fourth generation of the Carolina Times, which is a Black-owned newspaper, and because the family didn't want to take it over, there is no more Carolina Times. Because, like I said, you had everything from Lewis Austin, who was a major civil rights icon, and everything, who's the founder of the paper, all the way up to his kid, Vivian Edmond, and her kid, Kenneth Edmond. But then once we got to that fourth generation, it's no longer around because they didn't want to have anything to do with it and anything. So I'm just wondering, how do we go about encouraging folks to have that connection to the ancestors, but also that connection to our generational wealth?
You know, it's very important, right? I can't express the level of importance it is, because, and I can only say because I've seen people around the world who understand their history, and I see the pride that they have in it, the pride that they have in their family name. The idea that they feel that I'm not representing just myself, I'm representing my family for generations back.
Right.
You know what I mean? So on that level, I think it's very, very important, you know, to reach back in a certain type of way. And for us, I think it really means it maybe not even be your own necessarily family, because that information is difficult, but understanding at least the things around you that historically we did.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we all look at each other as family, right, we could look at it and be like, you know what? We designed Washington, D.C.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
That is something to stand on. That is a huge thing to say. The stoplight, you know what I'm saying? All of these things that were created, you know what I mean, by Black people, right? And in the musical sense, one of my newest things is like helping people understand and remind them that the drum set is a Black instrument. The drum set, which is kind of the backbone to American popular music, is an instrument that comes from Africans that were brought to America. You know what I mean? So standing on those things, I think like understanding those types of things, you feel value. You feel like you have some worth other than, you know, being this slave person that just worked for free and got beat on. Because that's kind of what the narrative is. Not necessarily that, you know, we had major and still continue to have major accomplishments, you know, and successes, and have created things that make life easier for people, right? Think about it. If really we understood that GPS came from Black people,
Mm-hmm.
if we really walked around with that idea, and even a good friend of mine said this, and this is, you know, another thing to even discuss on the religious side of things, right? If we really believe Jesus was a Black man, how would you treat other Black people?
Right.
If in your core, right, there people said Jesus was a man of color. If you really believe that in your core, how would you deal with another Black person when you saw them?
Yeah, but a lot of times we let the churches and other people create this Charlton Heston, Michelangelo version of what Jesus looks like and everything like that. But it's nothing like that. And even if you read the verse, it doesn't even make sense and everything.
None.
It's, I mean, the complexion and the feet of bronze, they pretty much told you that he was a person of color in the verse itself.
The geography tells you that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's somebody over there to look like the picture, and I bet you they have sunburn.
Yeah. There'll be no doubt about that. And you were talking about the things we invented, but people even forget that a major tool that many of us use and probably shouldn't be using it as much as we do. But the microwave has actually got connections to the African American community. But people forget that there was actually a brother that created the whole mechanism that's behind the microwave, just like the mechanism behind the refrigerator as well. So we forget that part of our history, and we don't allow people to even talk about it and everything. This is for both of you, but definitely I was just curious because we've talked about it to some degree. How important do you think it is for us to understand? Because it's called show business for a reason. Because I think that a lot of times we don't get into the business aspect of it. We're just into the show and don't really understand that it is a business and everything. So, Brandon, how much did you have to learn the whole accounting and the whole business aspect of show business, even in the film community? Because I've got a number of friends that are filmmakers, and you have to remind them that it is a business at the end of the day and everything. So, how much of that show business do you have to deal with?
Most definitely. And I'm gonna have to wrap it up here in a little bit for me. But most definitely, it's show business, big business. If you want to continue to thrive in the creative arts, you have to know the business. Also, even Brother Malcolm X said you shouldn't want to be a part of any organization unless you know about that organization.
Right.
This is show business. You got to know the business aspect of it. And I preach this to basketball players, rappers, whatever organization or business you want to be in, know about the business. So to know about how much does a location cost to film? How much does bringing on a union actor cost to film just for one day? How much does every little minute thing cost, so you can have a realistic expectation of, oh, okay, so if I mess up, not only am I messing up for me, I'm messing up for all these people that's up under me. Basically, all these people that got to feed their family. It's a whole industry of people. So it's not just me. When I come on set, it's not just about when I come on the film, so I'm finna do this because I'm the star of the show and yada yada yada. No, this is a whole business behind you. This is a whole community, a whole ecosystem of people. And this person got a budget, that person got a budget, and we owe this man who gave us $2 million. We got to make all his money back plus more, so we can continue to make movies like this. We can continue to tell our stories. We can continue to make music. So you have to know the importance of the business to continue the business.
Yeah, along those same lines, Brandon, and we'll get ready to wrap up for everybody in a few minutes and everything.
Okay.
But along those same lines, how important do you think it is for us to tell our own stories? And do you think that we sometimes get too caught up in telling just certain types of stories? Because that's one of the things, having grown up in rural North Carolina, even though Durham is home and I spent many years here as well. But in terms of my teen years, it was in rural North Carolina. And I don't think that we have enough of our rural stories or even the stories of our success. Like Latif and me are in the RTP, and there's a lot of great scientists that are here. And I don't know that we're hearing their stories told on the films and everything. So how much of these various stories do you think we're getting told, or are we just getting told certain types of stories?
Hold on one second. I'm getting a call. Let me. Yeah. So unfortunately, in this industry, there's always got to be some type of compromise. We just can't tell my full story unless I am fully funding it, unless I'm fully doing everything one man band, because I can tell it how I want to tell it. I'm fully funded. I'm gonna be the cameraman. I'm gonna be this. I'm gonna be the actor. Da 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 da. You most definitely, even our brother T.I., the Grand Hustle film we just did, he wanted to tell his story. However, he had to get input from his team, and some of the things they was looking at is like, oh, well, that's kind of females on his team were like, oh, that's kind of monogamous, or the female shouldn't say this, or da da da. But T.I. was saying, but this really happened to me. A woman did this to me, so I want to display it on screen. But females on the team, well, no, it's going to be looked at different in society, and da 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 da. So you have to compromise in any type of story you want to tell to make people feel comfortable, unfortunately. Unless, like I said, unless you're willing to do it all, fund it all, act it all out. So most definitely. And then also with the trends of today's society, you gotta have, a person from this community in your film. You gotta have the person in this community in your film to get, and the reason they do this is an insider, to get funding, to get grants, to get tax breaks. Like for example, if white production, if there's an all white production and they add like a person of color in there, they getting the fun, they getting the basically what's the word I'm looking for? Not a
Okay.
tax break.
A
They get
tax credit.
an incentive
Right.
to basically like, okay, we're gonna still charge you in the film industry. Like for example, if you have a $750,000 budget, and if you have a person of color or person of LGBT in your film, you can increase your budget to 950,000, and you will still get charged that same rate as far as taxes and stuff for the $750,000 budget. So
Mhm.
it all comes back to finances too. So it's just like you might think like, oh well, they're supporting the community. Nah, they needed a black person in there so they can get that tax break.
Yeah.
So that's where it on both ends. It's like you can try to tell your whole story, but you're gonna have to bend and fold a little bit somewhere.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, Brandon, just really quickly, and this is actually for both you and Ati, but one of the things that we talk about on the online dinner party really frequently with many different guests is this notion of the imposter syndrome. And I know both of you are very self-confident, so you probably don't have that imposter syndrome, but how did you deal with it and how did you get that confidence? Because that imposter syndrome is a notion that you are not as good as you think you are, or that's what a lot of people describe it as and everything like that. So you will sometimes not go for certain things in careers and all along those lines because you are afraid of the rejection. So it also has to deal with the rejection as well. So how did you get past that, Brandon? Because you definitely seem self-confident. I've known Atiba for years, decades and everything. So I know he's very self-confident and everything. But how did you get past having that sense of confidence and not facing that imposter syndrome?
Well, first of all, know who you are, who the foundation you are, who you come from, who you represent. I'm a man of Christ. I represent my family straight out of Gary, Indiana. So I'm not finna do anything that I won't be able to sleep at night. And then also, I'm a student of life, and I love learning. So I never go into any room acting like I know it all, because the reason I am where I am today, because I learn, I listen, and I learn from other people. I even learn from people's mistakes. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna take a left, I'm gonna take a right here. So me having that true sense of confidence and not having the imposter syndrome, because the imposter syndrome, from what I've looked at people, is it's exhausting, because you have to continue to uphold this look, uphold this image, and at the end of the day, you doing it to impress somebody else.
Right.
I do stuff to impress myself. What's going on my insides, I want to feel happy on the inside. Quite frankly, I don't give a darn rat tush about how you feel on the inside. If I have to be at war with myself to make you feel comfortable, I'm not gonna live a life like that. So if I'm finna put on a mask to make you feel comfortable, to make you think you're about to like me, I'm like, no. What's gonna make me happy? What's gonna make our community, my parents, my generation, my cousins, my family happy? Yeah, I'm going to stand on it, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just from a historical standpoint, because the two things I know about Gary, Indiana, of course, are the Jackson family, because they were definitely had those roots and everything, and also the Black political movement that came out of Gary as well and everything. So I just wonder how much of that does Gary still rest on and all along those lines? Because
Man, look, Gary, man, as of right now, I love my city. I grew up, it made me who I am, but Gary is not the same Gary during that time. Gary needs help, federal help from the government to rebuild the city. Gary is so poorly stricken. When people try to do stuff, it's certain parts of town that they're trying to build and rebrand, but Gary is just so, yes, it need help. Like, it's so poor right now. It's just like they couldn't even afford to keep the street lights on. So it would literally just be stop signs everywhere. Like, there's no red light or green light. Like, they cut off the power, grass ain't been cut. Like, good 40% of the city houses are abandoned. So that's why a lot of people are going back buying real estate, because the properties are super cheap. So I can see some type of bright light for the future, but as of right now, Gary needs help.
it
Help
sounds
bad.
like it sounds like Gary's running into the same thing that we ran into here in Durham, Atiba, because there was a lot of that gentrification that went on, and we know that it's big here in the Durham area, and I'm sure you've seen that, Atiba.
Mark, I ain't gonna put that on Durham. Gary is worse.
Gary's worse.
I'm not even gonna hold you. I mean, from what I understand, you know what I mean, from everyone from that area that I've spoken to, we ain't got it nowhere near as bad as Gary, because this is what somebody told me who also is from Gary. He said that one of the problems is that people have lost hope.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Durham, we never lost hope.
Right, that's true.
We never lost hope. You know what I'm saying? People in Detroit are losing hope. People in Gary are losing hope. There are places in America where people are losing hope. And when that's gone, it ain't much left. You know what I mean? It ain't much left. You know, it's unfortunate that there are places that are like this in America and these types of things. And you know, the stuff that kids got to grow up seeing every day type of vibe, right? And we have so many conversations about other places and helping other people, but that's a federal issue.
Yeah.
For sure. You know, but we Mark,
Yeah.
it's bad in Durham, but we ain't got that bad.
Yeah, got some gentrification, but not that kind of gentrification.
Yeah.
No, because the gentrification there came because nobody was there.
Yeah,
Right.
literally, like nobody's there.
Here they're buying us out and moving. You know,
Yeah.
moving people. But there it's like it was already, you know, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing there at all and everything like that. Brandon, just really quickly, if you tell the audience how you can be reached and if you want to remind people about this show, and one of the things I get everybody to do as we get ready to wind down shortly and everything is tell people a message of positivity, because Pod TV, which is what this show is on, and everything is an international network. So if you have a message of positivity, because I did hear you say that you had to bail, and we'll get ready to wrap the whole thing up in about 10 minutes, but if you got to get ready to bail before then, I'll give you that opportunity now.
Okay. Well, you most definitely can find me on all social media platforms, brandon.lee.ward, or just my Facebook, Brandon Lee Ward, my full government. The show that I'm working on called Short Show Podcast, in early stages of development. So I expect that to be on the platforms end of this year, early next year. If I want to leave people with a inspirational quote, I also collect quotes and I write down quotes. If you don't go through the process to get it, you won't have the power to keep it. So that's everything's a process. Sometimes people get handed opportunities and they fumble because they didn't go through the process to get it. They don't know how valuable it is. So if you're going through a process right now, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, just know you're going to have the power to keep it and maintain it and reproduce off of it.
And Atiba kind of alluded to it earlier, but I'm going to do the pitch because he knows I'm Mr. Networker and everything like that. So I'm thinking that you may have some room in your films and in your movies and even in your podcast and various other things for some African music and some blues music from Atiba and all along those lines, because he did mention that when he first came on.
Yeah, most definitely. We can always use some sync music, background music, all that. Most definitely. And that's a silent money maker right there too. Yeah. So yeah, we gonna be in contact
for sure.
Yeah. Sounds good. Definitely have those folks, brothers, getting in touch with each other and making some entertainment together and all along those lines. So that'll be a great thing that'll be taking place and everything. I did want to give people, I'm going to do a shared screen and hopefully you'll get a chance to check it out. I know Atiba sent me one, but I didn't get a chance to download that one. But I did find from their website a little bit of the music from the Carolina Theater presentation. So I'm just going to give them a little taste of what y'all are all about, because it's a whole hour show. So I'm not going to play the whole hour, but I will give them just a taste of what the music is, if that's all right with you, Atiba. And so that'll be a chance for Brandon to catch before he gets out what the music is all about and all along those lines. So get ready to do a shared screen and let them check out just a little bit of what your sound is all about and what is the music is in that sense and all in that way. So like I said, this is just a taste of the music from the Ghostlight series. I think it was the Ghostlight concert series. So I'll get ready to play it and we'll hear a little bit about what their music is all about so that you can hear a taste of what they are doing.
I don't think anybody's here. How are y'all feeling? Okay, there we go. Can we get the house lights up just a little bit? We really want to see you and feel you since you're kind of spread apart. Thank you all for being here. We're Africa Unplugged. Give it up one more time for Kaiki Vidal. That was amazing, right?
Kaiki, man.
That's like a one-man orchestra. All that stuff with the Wii controller, though. All right, so we gonna party. Y'all ready to party? Are y'all ready to party? All right, let's crank it in, Will. All right, here we go. Here's the game. I'm gonna go, and you go. Hey, hey, hey. Got it? Let's try. Can we get a little soul clap like this here? Come on, y'all. It's all right to make some noise. It's all right to be on your feet. It's all right to groove in your chair. Marama waina, marama nebila waina, yango mani okalade. 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 Will Dirty on guitar. On the bass tonight, that's Joe Kinde, y'all. Let's play a game, y'all.
So just a little taste of what the group is all about, and all along those lines. So that was a taste of what the group was all about.
Yeah,
And
that was really good.
Thank you, man. Hey, we got a new single out, everybody. It's called Sweeter Than Honey. Go download it. Go listen to it. I hope you like it. I hope you love it. Listen to it anyway. Tell a friend.
definitely. Atiba, before we get out of here, and like I said, we'll wrap up with a couple of these PSAs and everything, including one from a spice company that a friend of mine owns in Delaware. If you will do the same thing and tell folks how they can reach you, and any final parting words that you want to have and everything, and your message of positivity, because I know you'll have tons of good messages of positivity and how they can reach you. And to both of you gentlemen, I hope that y'all will make a return trip to the online dinner party, because this is what I do. I just get other people together of different backgrounds, and we just chop it up about different things on a regular basis. So that's what the online dinner party is all about.
I'm with it. I would love to come back. Let me know. Excuse me, these North Carolina allergies, man, I'm kicking my butt. But so you can find me social media at Atiba84 on Instagram, but really more so, I am present on all of my band stuff, Africa Unplugged Music, on all platforms. We have a website, AfricaUnpluggedMusic.com, all spelled normally. Like I said, we have a new single out. You can stream it on all streaming platforms. It's called Sweeter Than Honey. It dropped sometime last month. We got a few more things coming too. And message of positivity, I will say, understand that your path, your destiny, your success should only look like yours. It doesn't have to look like someone else's, right? For some people, that means a lot of different things. You know what I mean? But definitely understand that your success will not look like the person next to you, will not look like the person next to them. And be cognizant and appreciative of the things that you get, because you never know, you know what I mean? God gives us these opportunities. Try your best to take advantage of them, but know that your success is not going to look like somebody else's success, because we ain't in charge anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's real true with everything. Just really quickly, I said that was the last question, but I kind of lied and everything. But one of the things that I sometimes get frustrated by, and I'd love to hear both of your thoughts around this, is how do you deal with the dream killers? Because there are a lot of people that will, and you kind of alluded to it, Atiba, earlier, that will try to sabotage your dreams or try to like ambush your dreams. And sometimes people will also try to have you live their dreams and not encourage you in your own dreams and all along those lines. So there are a number of people throughout the world, so not just here in Durham or not just in California where you are, Brandon, right now and everything, but throughout the world that are dream killers. And I was just wondering, how do you deal with those dream killers, and how do you avoid them? Because sometimes they're in the lane that you can't avoid them.
I personally appreciate them because they give me an opportunity to show what I'm actually about.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like without any kind of strife, you're not going to really see, just like you said earlier. If you don't go through it to get it, you're going to lose it when you get it, you know, and those people are part of that process.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately. And I will say this, and I mean it. Those people are a part of that process, and know that sometimes everybody can't go with you.
Right. Yeah. What's your take on that, Brandon?
Yeah, he hit the head on the nail right there. Literally a part of the process. And then when you get through the process, you're gonna be appreciative of it, just like Atiba said. Like, yeah, so dream killers, they there to do their job, to try to kill your dreams, and you there to prove how strong and confident you is and how successful you're gonna be by, hey, I'm gonna get through this tornado. Trouble ain't gonna last always. They just there for the moment.
And sometimes it's funny that they are the first ones to be there and try to tell you that they had your back all along, even though they were the ones that were trying to be the killers of the dreams. But then they'll be the ones that will tell you that they are the ones that were part of your success and your rise. And then you're sitting there going like, no, you weren't. And sometimes they'll also, as you know, Atiba, they'll sometimes try to claim connections that they don't have. So they'll try to claim that the people in your corner were the reason that they are backing you and all along those lines. And then when you go back to those people, like I know you've had it happen with your mom, I've had it happen with my mom, and they've said, I don't know that person. So I don't even know who they are and everything.
Yeah. I mean, and I also look at it this way, right? Some people will pay to see you succeed. Some people will pay to see you fail.
Man.
They both paid.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but I appreciate it, fellas, but I got to hop off real quick.
Well, we give it to end it for everybody. I'm actually going to play this Can Do Spice commercial so both you and Atiba can get on out of here, and I'm going to find me the food.
Nice to meet you, bro. I'm going to reach out for sure, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll just follow you on the gram.
Awesome.
All right.
Cool.
All right. All right. Appreciate it, brother Mark.
Hey, no problem. Enjoy both of you, and we'll be having you both on in the near future. But right now, we're getting ready to get out of here with these PSAs. Y'all take it easy. Peace.
All right. Goodbye.
Peace.
You know how people love to enjoy food and don't understand how to flavor their food or how to replicate a meal? They're interested in supplements but don't know where to begin? Well, what I do is I take the guesswork out of enjoying flavor and wellness with my flavorful spice blends so that they can create delicious meals with healing benefits. Can Do Spice was created to help cooks at any level enjoy healing through food. Every spice blend was designed to give added health benefits of natural herbs. Every blend is complete. There's no need to add any additional spice for a delicious meal. Saving you time and money while adding supplements to your meals can be both tasty and fun. My earliest memories in the kitchen began with my father, Kenny Can Do Bond, so it was fitting that I would name this line after him. I have always looked to natural remedies to supplement the body, and I found myself hiding herbs and minerals in foods for my family. That's when it hit me. Everyone needs Can Do Spice. Everyone should be having this. It's an exclusive brand for cooks at any level who want to create flavorful dishes with healing benefits that can satisfy the body and soul. Add a little spice to your life. Give Can Do Spice a try.
Hi, my name is Kim Green, and I am one of the founders of Black, Bases Loaded, Authentic Clothing and Caps, spelled with a K. We have the distinct pleasure every day of introducing the world to people that have had a tremendous impact on our country. In doing so, we're allowing the accomplishments of these groups to both be celebrated and acknowledged, while our customers are provided the opportunity to commemorate them with high quality and stylish attire. Black specializes in licensed apparel for Negro League Baseball, Buffalo Soldiers, and the Tuskegee Airmen. We started Black to act as an educational partner to museums nationwide to not only inform everyday Americans on Black history, but to celebrate the individuals that played on segregated sports teams and served in segregated units of the military. The problem we're solving is twofold. One, Black history, which is American history, has been excluded from the core curriculum in our children's schools. And two, when we started the company, it was and really still is hard to find high quality Black history apparel. Our goal is to change both of those things.
The only trick you need to save time and money is to shop at Aldi. Aldi. Shop differently. Limitless length plus volume. Sensational from every angle. New Lash Sensational Sky High Mascara. Only from Maybelline, New York. Everything that touches your baby should be this comforting. Pamper Swaddlers. The #1 choice of hospitals is 2 times softer. All right, Trivago. Find me a hotel somewhere in Thailand where I can wake up with a view of the ocean. Awesome. The future. It's impossible to see. And when it's finally here, it might not be what you'd expect. It might just be better. Introducing Luxury Electric. Introducing Lucid Air. We're for those who love to discover, who don't need to travel to find something new, and who know when you spend less, you can discover even more at TJ Maxx and Marshalls. Smooth, velvety chocolate wrapped in precious gold. Ferrero Rocher.